let me explain what I have here. These boards are all 24 inches long, although my finished project is going to be shorter than that. It's actually going to be 18 by 18, and it's going to be a circle. So I've lined these boards up. I've cut down a paint stick into these little tiny strips here, and I put them in between each slat so that they would be close but not touching, and they would be equally distanced from each other. I have 12 slats here, but I'm going to find the middle of 11 of them. The last one, or the first one, is not going to be counted in making the circle. But I found the middle, so that I took, I went 5 up, and then there's 5 after, not including this last one. And I found the middle of this one, and I'm going to put a screw in, a nail in there, do a string some kind of way, come out 9.5 inches, and then make a circle so that I can have an 18-inch circle, 18 by 18 each way. But I'm going to first have to secure all the slats together for before I cut them. So I'm going to use my nail gun with these tiny little, the shortest that I have of these brad nails. I'm going to nail these 2 slats to this board so that they will stay all together when I go to cut out the circle. But this is the side I want to use, I just realized, and I need to flip them all over and use the others and nail these to the other side. So I'll do that and come right back. I've secured the boards together with the 2 pieces underneath, and now I really wish I had glued them to this, because I don't know, it just feels like they're not very stable. Plus the brad nails shot kind of through a little bit in places. I put a nail in the middle of here, I banged it in, twine, and I'm going to take it to this edge and try to paint a circle on here. This will be the top of the piece. I want to sort of like do something here like this. Something like that. Now I'm going to take this over to the scroll saw and cut this circle out. And here we are. It's our giant ornament finished. I've connected everything. I ended up taking out all the brad nails because they did not hold things together very well. I'll show you the back. I secured pieces here, the top, the bottom where I have these narrow ones, and then I have these strips here. So I took all those out and glued everything. I glued all these pieces against the slats. Now what I'm going to do is to stain this ornament. I'm going to stain it with this golden oak from Varathane. If you're staining pine wood, you might want to maybe wet it down so that it can raise the pores. That way it can take the stain more evenly. If you just stain right over pine, a lot of times it'll be blotchy. So I'm going to first wet it down and then stain it. I'm not sure if I should wait longer, but I've waited 10 minutes after I sprayed the piece down with water. And I'm just going to go ahead and stain it. Hope for the best. I want to give the ornament a little bit more depth, I guess. So I'm going to try darkening all around the edges with this dark walnut. Okay, we're going to be putting a Santa on this ornament. I want to try to paint directly on here, paint him directly onto the ornament over the stain. But then certain places I want to use wood, some more wood to put over it. Now because this ornament is very thin, I want to use wood that's equally the same thickness. I don't want to go too thick, but unfortunately I don't have any wood. Look, for example, if I had a piece of wood big enough to make his beard out of, it is not thin. It's like 1 inch thick, and it's too thick. I don't want to put 1 inch over this thin wood. So I'm just going to piecemeal it, and I'm not going to do the whole Santa as additional wood. Actually, like I said, I want to paint him onto, most of him onto the ornament, and then put certain parts of him, other pieces. Like, for example, I've cut out 2 pieces for his mustache because I only have these thin strips of wood. All of the pieces of wood that are this thickness of this back piece are only this wide. So it's a little challenging trying to piecemeal the parts that I want to do. So I did this one to give you an idea of what I'm trying to do. So I'm going to be doing his mustache like that. I'm going to do the ruffle on his hat like that. The circle on the puff on the back of his hat. I think I'm going to do either his mittens or the puff around his wrist. Probably not both. I'm not sure. I'm not going to do his beard. I'm not going to do his body. I'm going to do those painted directly onto the ornament. And I think, I'm not sure how I'll pull it off, but I'm thinking about also doing the present. So that's the only pieces, maybe. His mustache, the puff around his hat, the ball, the present, either the mittens or the wrist puff, and everything else painted on. And I hope that's going to look cute in the end. I've traced out on this piece of wood the top of his hat, the circle on the back of his hat, the puff ball, the muffs around his wrist, and there's 1 mitten here and 1 mitten here. Hope you can see that. And I'm going to cut them out on the scroll saw. I had to make the mittens and the puffs. The puffs are not important as far as size. The mittens are important, and I hope I haven't made his mittens so small he will look like a freak. We'll see. And his hat, I don't know. Okay, this is what we're working with. We got the puff around the end of his hat on here. We have this around the brim, the mustache, mittens, and muffs. And this, maybe, I'm not sure, might represent the present. I don't know yet. And I think the biggest challenge to this is, like I said, I had to make these different pieces smaller than I intended from the drawing on this ornament. So they're not going to line up to where I drew the lines. So I'm just going to have to see how that goes. So I'm going to see what I can do and cover up the excessive lines, hopefully with paint. And I'm not going to glue the Beige pieces down until I have the background done on Santa. So I think we're going to start with filling in the red of his clothes, and then the white of his beard. Maybe his face, I'm not absolutely sure. Definitely the red of his hat. And then we can see where to place these things afterward. I'm using Candy Apple Red by Apple Barrel. I'm going to paint in his face and this narrow space right here, and I'm using antique parchment. It's a mixture of antique parchment, dark brown, and I think khaki color, I think. It looks like I didn't paint enough on this facial part, but I'm going to go ahead and attach the headband, the head muff part, and this mustache like this, because you probably can't see it, but let me show you. See here, when I put it into place so it covers the white where I painted, it's showing this upper part where it needs to be painted in. But I'm going to go ahead and attach it because, you know, I can't guesstimate that. So I'm going to hot glue it in place. And I'm actually going to try to set both of these mustache sides at the same time. There we go. We'll just paint around the edges. And then we'll have to do this. I think it goes here like this. I left this little hole here to try to show the hat overlapping to the side, but I think it looks a little strange. And I kind of want to just paint it in. What do you think? It's just kind of weird to be really skinny this way. Makes more sense to paint it in. So I'm going to paint it in. I also made a mistake here, so I'm just going to, actually I'm not going to do anything because I want to paint the holly right here. I'm going to paint the mittens black, but it's coming along. I'm really not sure what color to do the nose, so I'm just going to try doing a territorial beige from Apple Barrel. If it's not what I expect, then I'm going to just paint a little bit over it very lightly with the rest, the same color I used for the rest of the face. I painted the gloves. I haven't attached them yet, but this is sort of where, potentially where I'm going to have the present when I get it done. And so let me glue these pieces in place. Now we're going to move on to painting the holly right here, and I'm using Old Ivy from Folk Art. I tried to do a little veining here. I don't know what I'm doing. It looks okay. So now I'm going to do some berries, and I wanted it to overlap onto his hat a little bit, so I'm not going to use the same candy apple red. I'm using Tuscan red for the berries. I'm trying to give the piece a little bit more depth, a little bit more 3D feel by just kind of dry brushing some black on the edges. I did okay here. I had to kind of fix this. It looks a little too much, but I just brushed over some red over it because the red is pretty transparent. So even putting it on there, lightly kind of toned down the black. But I like what I did with it. It still looks pretty good. I don't understand all the shadowing stuff, so it's going to be what it's going to be. And I put some right here. I don't know if you can see that very well. I dip the brush in black, wipe off most of it, and then try to give the edges a little bit more shadowing like this. Not really too clear on how to do that, but if I feel like I've overdone it, like I said, I just add some red over it. Which that feels overdone, so I'll just grab some red. I don't even really have to dab it too much because the red is transparent. Putting it over it just kind of tones it down. I'm going to be using Lime Tree from Apple Barrel for this present pieces. I'm going to try using this spongy thingamabob to make white polka dots on the squares. Okay, I've turned the present upside down. I spaced it somewhat apart vertically and horizontally. I cut the edges off of this ribbon, the wire red edges. And now I'm going to glue down a piece across here and a piece across here. And I'm going to cut off the edges around it so you can't see it out here. And then we'll glue it to the board. I've cut off the edges on the ribbon, and just so you know, I use this rotary cutting tool just to run it tightly against the edge and cut that off. It was pretty easy. This is a great tool. I love it. I think I got this from Walmart. Let's go ahead and glue down this present. So now I'm going to make the ribbon that will go on top. I have this piece that is 8 inches and these two pieces that are 10 inches. So we get the smallest piece and one of the bigger pieces and put the biggest one aside. And I'm just going to glue these into a loop. If I can get it together. Like that. Okay. That's the smaller one. Now we'll glue the bigger one. Gosh, it's such a hassle. Okay, here we go. There we are. Sit the smaller one on top of the bigger one in the middle. Then we cinch the middle of the two together like this. And we use a pipe cleaner. We use a pipe cleaner to cinch it in the middle. So now that we have the bow, I'm going to take this other piece here and put it on the back in the middle and use this wrapper here to secure it. And now I can shape these tail pieces down like this to form a bow. Like that. Touch them together, the edges together like this, and somehow either cut this way or that way. I think it's this way. If it's not, I'm going to be out of ribbon and in trouble because I have no more ribbon. Yep, that was good. And now I'm going to cut a small piece to glue around the middle to cover up the twine, and then our bow is complete. I'm not entirely sure whether I should put the bow up here on top of the top block or put it down here. It can't float in the air. I kind of want to just force it down and then glue these pieces against the board. I think that's what I'm going to do. Okay, I've printed out these pieces of vinyl wording from my Cricut, and I'm going to place them like this. I consider putting a bow at the top of this, but to me the bow covers up the shape of this and showing that it's an ornament, so I'm not going to do that, I don't think. I might put holes through here and put some twine on it so that it can hang from something, because I wanted this piece to be like a door hanger. Yeah, that's what I'll do. I'll probably put some holes in it, some convenient location on here, put some twine and hang it like that. And now let me show you the finished results after I put the wording on there.